On this episode of the Indie Author Weekly Reading Challenge.
Yeah, this is a good idea, but I don't know how this can really, I don't know if it can achieve its full potential on TikTok. You know, I think the possibility of a TikTok addiction is very real, because as soon as I got on there, I felt like I was checking how many followers do I have. But what I don't want to do is I don't want to make a show like that. There are so many more of us who are just writing stories and trying to get heard and trying to get noticed. And some of them are very, very good, and no one has discovered them yet.
Tag along as author Robert Gadkey interviews writers and artists about their books, works, and lives. Be part of the journey as these amazing people pursue dreams of fame and fortune.
Welcome to episode 1 of the Indie Author Weekly Reading Challenge, also for traditionally published authors who want to play, podcast edition. I am your host, Robert Gadkey. I will be your tour guide as we meander through the world of really unknown, undiscovered, but really amazing, talented indie authors. This is going to be a real short episode. It's our first episode, and you're going to have to, I just hope you'll bear with me as I learn to be a extraordinary podcaster, because I have no idea what I'm doing. So I'm just going to tell you a little bit about where the show idea came from and where I hope it will go. So it really started about a month ago or so. So in or around the end of May of 2022 is when I joined TikTok. And the reason why I got on TikTok was because at that point I had 3 indie published novels, my most recent shameless plug being the one right back here, The Pursuit of Being Noticed. And I was really getting no traction with those books. I mean, I had a few sales, right? But you can only sell so many books to your friends and family. And so I was trying to figure out, where do I go next? How do I actually make money as an indie writer? And what I heard on Mark Dawson's show was an interview with these 2 women authors who are very successful, who do TikTok, and they teach you how to sell books on TikTok. And this made a lot of sense to me, right? Because it was a new social media platform. Apparently, it's still in its infancy, in the sense that, unlike some of the other platforms where it's really hard as a new creator to get noticed, on TikTok you can. And so I took this class, and I learned a lot, and I started making TikTok videos. And I started getting engagement with people. And one of the things that struck me right away about that was, you saw all of these authors, all of them, and there were so many indie authors on there who are making content for TikTok, sometimes every day. And I saw a post in another group that I'm a part of, a TikTok group, where some of the authors were talking about the mental health related issues that were coming with this pressure to try to make all these engaging content related videos on like a daily basis. And I identified with that because, you know, I think the possibility of a TikTok addiction is very real, because as soon as I got on there, I felt like I was checking how many followers do I have? How many likes do I have? You know, and I was someone who just really didn't embrace social media at all before I took this class. And so I saw all these, what I thought were pretty extraordinary people, spending a lot of time on TikTok trying to get other people to buy their books. And one of the things that I just really was disheartened by was how many page flips I saw, right? And that is on TikTok, if you're not familiar with it, that's where people take a book and they basically just flip through the pages of it, and they have some text on there. And supposedly this is really exciting, and people buy your book if you do this. And I made one because it was required for this class I was in, but I think I've always thought that was sort of dumb, and I think it's beneath all these really talented authors and creators. And so I saw all these people on there spending all this time trying to drive engagement, and I thought to myself, my gosh, I don't know any of these people, and I imagine their stories are pretty phenomenal, right? That they write some pretty interesting stories because they're artists, and just because we haven't heard of them, or just because they don't appear in Costco or whatever, doesn't mean that they're not really good, or that they don't have good stories. And so I thought to myself, wouldn't it be cool if I created this kind of weekly reading challenge where I would read, and I hoped it would be more than just me, but I would read an indie book from an author I had never heard of before. And people could suggest it, or I would just discover this person on TikTok. I would read their book, then I would write a review of it, and I would make a video about it. And I would encourage people to buy their book because, I don't know, as an indie author, we should all be trying to help each other, right? And so I did that. I made I made a couple promo videos for that. And I really was very encouraged by what I was seeing. I mean, the comments I got, some of the people who commented back were just extraordinarily generous and nice with their encouragement. I thought, this is a good idea, right? We can help each other. And then the further I got into it, the more I thought, yeah, this is a good idea, but I don't know how this can really, I don't know if it can achieve its full potential on TikTok as TikTok is created. And what I mean by that is that right now, as I understand it, so much of TikTok traffic, we'll call it, or viewership is on the FYP, right? Or the For You page, which makes TikTok very different than some of these other platforms. Like if you look at Facebook or something, my understanding, again, I'm not an expert, is that Facebook primarily shows your content to friends, and not always even close friends, but friends that the algorithm thinks that would be most interested in your content. Whereas TikTok, yes, it does have a heavy algorithm influence. And yes, it tries to favor content that is interesting and exciting because it is an entertainment platform. But it is not, at this point anyways, a purely friendship entertainment driven platform, meaning that if you create good content and if you put it out there, it can go out to the world and get pushed out on the FYP, and it can get seen by everybody everywhere. Now, that's the great part of TikTok, right? And that's why so many indie authors are on there and spending so much time and hoping to have success, is that they're going to get seen by people who would never have seen them before. That's why I was on TikTok at first. But what I figured out was that, yeah, that's really good maybe for some things, maybe promoting your book, like maybe making page flips, and then you just continue to make the same kind of page flip videos every 3 days because you're randomly getting pushed out to new people within the FYP, right? But for me, what I wanted to do with this series, where I really focused on indie authors and I talked about indie authors, and we have this kind of community around indie authors on TikTok, I started worrying about the fact that, yeah, this stuff is getting pushed out in the FYP, but how is anybody really gonna find it, right? Because who's searching their friends? You'd have to remember my name. You'd have to remember the series. Not very easy to subscribe at this point on TikTok. And the videos that we're able to make, at least what I can make within the app, because again, TikTok is not like other platforms where some people have this feature and some people have that feature. But right now, within the app, I'm limited to videos that are 3 minutes long. And when we're talking about creating content that discusses, people and their lives and their stories and why we should buy their books, making content that was 3 minutes long seemed really, really short. And that's where I decided, hey, maybe what we should do is we should continue to have this kind of discussion on TikTok, because I like it. I think it's great. We can have some of these videos that go out on TikTok that then encourage people to listen to the podcast that will be available on all the major streaming platforms, and then also on YouTube as well. So that way people can subscribe, can comment, can join. We can have more in the way of links like that. That's another thing. Like right now, I can't even on TikTok give out a URL that's clickable that will take us to this podcast because I don't have 1,000 followers. Now, I could have 1,000 followers if I were to play the algorithm game where I would continue to engage in reader follow parties and just follow random people on the app. But that is not something I want to do. That's not the way I want to do this. I want people to watch and discuss indie authors because they like the content we make, not because I follow them back and then never see their videos anyways. So I thought, let's come up with a podcast where we can go in more in depth. Hi, it's Rob Gadkey. So if you're enjoying the show and looking for a way to support me and my writing, please consider buying a copy of my latest book and reviewing it on Amazon. The book is called The Pursuit of Being Noticed. It is a funny, fun adventure about a female lawyer and her sister and their mother. And it also has heart too, which I think is the most important thing about a good story. So if you're looking for something to read this weekend, please consider picking it up. And now back to our show. So that's why I started this Indie Author Weekly Reading Challenge. I also call it for traditionally published authors who want to play, sort of tongue in cheek, because what I don't want, as much as this would impress me as a person, I don't want someone like James Patterson on the show. Now, obviously, if Mr. Patterson were to email me or call me and say, Rob, I want to get on your show, I guess I would have to let him, right? I mean, the man is sensational. He's more successful than I'll ever be. My understanding is he's a great guy. But what I don't want to do is I don't want to make a show like that, because there are so many shows, even within the indie author community, and I listen to them, that are all about indie authors who are making millions of dollars a year, or they're on the cover of this, or they lead this group. But there are so many more of us who are just writing stories and trying to get heard and trying to get noticed. And some of them are very, very good, and no one has discovered them yet. And so I want our show to be about that. So even though I say that, the show is supposed to be for indie authors, and I tongue-in-cheek say, and for traditionally published authors who want to play, my goal is that, yes, traditionally published authors can be part of the show, provided they're kind of more like us struggling indie authors, right? People trying to make it. And there definitely are traditionally published authors that way, right? Some of the deals that traditionally published authors get are horrible nowadays, and they're absolutely welcome to be on this show. So what I envision this show to be is kind of a continuation of what we started on TikTok, which is I'm still going to have the weekly reading challenge, where we're going to pick a book from an unknown author or an author that readers suggest, and we're going to read it together, and then we're going to talk about it. But one of the things I really, really hope I can do is I want to invite the author to be a guest on the podcast then at the end of the week. And I want to talk to them. And I don't want to talk to them about, their marketing plan or how it is they write their stories. I mean, we could ask those questions, I suppose. But what I really want our focus to be is on them, right? And on their story and why they write and who they are and where they come from and what adversity they've suffered along the way. Because I sort of envision this show as almost being a cross between Inside the Actor Studio with James Lipton. I don't know if anyone saw that. I think it's still technically on TV, but not with Mr. Lipton. He's dead, but with someone else who took it over. But it was an amazing show where he, via his style, was able to get these really famous people to talk about what was going on in their life and who they were and how their acting came to be. And so on the one hand, I hope we can sort of get that, right? That we get people to open up and be honest and be candid with us. But the other side of it is that I hope that it's more like StoryCorps. And I'm not sure if you've heard of that, but years ago, NPR used to have this project, and I'm not sure if they do even anymore, but they would go out and they would interview ordinary people, normal people, and they would get them to tell the stories of their lives or the important things that happened in their lives. And I remember listening to that and thinking, those stories are better than the stories we hear in Hollywood. And often they're better than the famous people's stories, right? And all of us have those stories. And I think it would be really exciting to hear indie authors talk about those stories. So in the interest of candor, okay, so who am I, right? In the interest of being honest and vulnerable, in hopes that maybe my guests will be too. So my name is Rob. That is my real name. My last name is pronounced the way you see it, spelled slightly differently because it's hard to pronounce. But I spent about 15 years or so practicing law. Most of it was in divorce and family law, very contested cases. I didn't enjoy that a lot. I think I was decent at it or good at it sometimes, But I didn't really enjoy it because it was never really a passion for me. It was just sort of something I did. And there was a lot of acrimony because a lot of the cases that I handled were really, really high conflict cases. And that was very, very stressful. And I had always wanted to be a writer. And I decided several years back that I was going to try that. Right. And I'm very, very lucky. I have a spouse who's super supportive. And I thought, okay, I'm going to write full time. And at that point, I had no idea what the hell I was doing. Right. I mean, no idea. So many people talk about, oh, I've been writing since I was, 3 years old. And I used to write all these stories. Well, that was absolutely not me. I mean, I do remember when I was in the 4th grade trying to write a novel. And I think I got 10 pages into it. I mean, 10 longhand pages before I quit. I had no idea what the hell I was doing. And so even when I tried to write a novel, the very first thing I did was try to do this kind of write a novel in 3 months. There was this class that they had online. I don't actually remember the name of it now. Oh, it was the Right Practice is what it was called. I think they're still around. And I had to write a novel in like 90 days. And I tried. I wrote every day. But I didn't have the story structure skills or anything like that. And then I kind of put it away. And then I did one stab at November National Novel Writing Month, NaNoWriMo, whatever it's called. And I did that again. I wrote my 1367, however many words you got to write every day to complete. I did it. Story's horrible. Never going to see the light of day. And then kind of puttered around. I was practicing law still at this time, puttered around for a little while. And then I discovered Dean Wesley Smith and his wife, Chris. And I started watching their videos and really started trying to follow their practices. And I did. And I wrote 3 or 4 novels, 2 of which are published, 2 of which are not yet, in a span of about 8 months. I just wrote, did not revise, wrote. 2 of them are out there. One of them's Hunting for Time and the other is Operation Snitch. And they're okay. They're okay. I didn't at that point have the money to have them professionally edited. I still don't. But they're up there. I think the stories are okay. Like I think Hunting for Time is a good story. But it's immature sort of. And then I spent time kind of taking a step back saying, okay, I need to learn how to tell stories actually. And so I read books like Story Genius and Save the Cat, and then Save the Cat Write the Novel. And then, all the screenplay books from Field. And, I read Robert Campbell's stuff and, I don't know, everything you could possibly think of trying to learn how to tell a story. And then I spent a little over a year writing The Pursuit of Being Noticed, which came out in December of 2021. And I always joke, I have a good writing friend, and I always joke with her that, the most depressed authors are not the people who want to write the book, right? Because there's always, before you've written your first novel, there's always this hope that your novel's actually going to be extraordinary and that you're going to be a breakout hit. The most depressed people are the people who finish their first, second, and third books and they realize there is no hit there, right? Not yet, because that's not really how it works. So I put that out in December of 2021, and I really hoped that I would have more success because I had spent all this time trying to learn how to tell a story. And it did, I don't know, the same, maybe worse than my other 2 books. And then I spent some time trying to follow different, Publisher Rocket, all these different ideas. I listened to all these different podcasts from 6-figure authors to all the different ones, to Mark Dawson's, everybody. So then I started giving away that book for a while. And actually in May and June of 2022 here, when I was giving away the book, I was giving them away like crazy. I think I gave away, like crazy for me. I think I gave away like 3,900 books, which is really great. Problem is, you don't know whether anyone's actually reading those books because you're just giving them away. Because I wasn't getting any reviews at all off of that. And then I took the TikTok class. And then within the last 2 weeks or so, I've switched it from being a free book to being in Kindle Unlimited, mostly because I think that's the second largest bookstore in the world. And I had avoided that under Dean Wesley Smith's teaching for a long time while I was not really selling any books anyways. So I figured I'll give that a try. So that's me. I hope you'll bear with me as I learn to do this, at least for a little while. I think there's a lot of potential in hearing other people's stories. It's going to be bumpy, I would say, but that's it. So, all right. So what's going to happen this week is I am going to interview our first author who we picked. Her name is Kate Alexander, and her book is A Taste of Sweetness. And I am about halfway through it at this point, and it is amazing. It is a sweet, kind of clean romance book. So if you haven't read it yet, please check it out. And please subscribe, like this podcast, whatever you got to do on the platform so that you can come back and be part of our story. Also, if you have an idea for a book we should read, or you want to be a guest on the podcast because you're an indie writer who thinks you've got a good life story that you could tell, drop us a line. You can go to my website, robertgadkey.com, or you could leave a note in the comment. Also on TikToks, we often post videos on there where we ask people to nominate books. The only limitation at this point is that it has to be in Kindle Unlimited. That's strictly for money purposes on my part. And then it also has to be the name of a book so that I can find it in Kindle Unlimited. So again, thank you for listening. I hope you come along on this journey. I hope we have a good time. And I'm going to keep doing this at least until we run out of guests who want to be a part of us. So thanks so much. And until next time, keep reading.